Folks, Black Star Network is here.
Hold no punches!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
I Thank you for being the voice of Black America, Roland.
Stay black. I love y'all.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Today is Thursday, August 8th, 2024. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming live on the Black Star Network. Vice President Kamala Harris, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, they remain in Detroit today for a rally with the United Auto Workers. And while they were doing that, oh my God, Donald Trump was whining and complaining about crowd sizes. And I had bigger crowd sizes than anybody in history, including Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Wait till we show you this fool. Also, the Wisconsin DA has charged 4 hotel workers with felony murder in connection with the death of a black man they pinned to the ground. Will be joined by attorney Ben Crump. Also, the black Texas teen who got suspended last year for his locked hairstyles lost his as part of a discrimination lawsuit dismissed by a federal judge. We'll tell you about that as well, and be joined by his attorney. Also, Trump surrogate Republican Byron Donalds literally goes on ABC and defends Trump's attacks, questioning Kamala Harris being black. I got a few words for his ass. Also on the show, Congresswoman Cori Bush has lost her re-election bid after AIPAC dumped $9 million into her campaign. Plus, National Urban League honored Master P. I sat down and talked with him at the convention as well. Y'all, lots to break down. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, y'all. It's Roland Martin.
yesterday's huge rally in Detroit, Vice President Kamala Harris and her running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, remain in Detroit today, holding a rally with the United Auto Workers. Of course, the UAW, one of the many unions that have endorsed the Democratic ticket. They stopped by the UAW Workers Union Hall in Wayne County. And again, they spoke to about 100 workers there at Local 900 Hall, which represents Ford's Michigan Assembly Plant. Both of them talked about the value and the importance of unions.
Think about this leader. It's very simple. She stands on the side of the American people and the American worker. She's the one who took on the predators, the fraudsters, the transnational gangs, and she's the one that stands up against the billionaires in the corporate greed. And she has a long record of delivering for union members and organized labor.
Thank you.
All right, everybody in this room knows, I keep saying this. This is a bit of preaching to the choir, but the choir needs to sing. Right? We know the unions built the middle class. The rest of America has to. You know who doesn't believe that? Donald Trump. He sees the world entirely differently. And it really starts with this. When I look at community and neighbors and unions, and the word that Sean said, unity. This guy doesn't know the first thing about unity or service. He's too busy serving himself. Again and again and again, you've seen it. He put himself above us. He weakened our country to strengthen his own hand. He mocks our laws. He sows chaos and division. That says nothing about how he dealt with his president. We lived through it. We lived through it. He froze in the face of COVID, and our neighbors died because of it. And by doing nothing about COVID, he drove this economy into the ground. And I want to be very clear about this, because there's a lot of lies that happened in here. Violent crime was up when Donald Trump was president. Without even counting his crimes. It was still. So this is very simple. You know it. And it's going to take a heck of a lot of hard work. But this election is a simple choice. What direction and what's our country going to look like? What direction are we going in? You know it. We said it. Donald Trump's going to take it backwards. We said it. We're not going back.
Our campaign is about saying we trust the people. We say to the people, we know the people. You know one of the things I love about our country? We are a nation of people who believe in those ideals that were foundational to what made us so special as a nation. We believe in those ideals. And the Sisters and Brothers of Labor have always fought for those ideals. Always fought for those ideals. And we know we are a work in progress. We haven't yet quite reached all of those ideals, but we will die trying because we love our country and we believe. And that's what our campaign is about. We love our country. We believe in our country. We believe in each other. We believe in the collective. We're not falling for these folks who are trying to divide us, trying to separate us, trying to pull us apart. That's not where the strength lies. And there is that. And so I say to all the members of UAW, and Sean Fain as the first who I talked to about this, I am so deeply honored as a lifelong supporter of union labor for Tim and I to have the endorsement of UAW. So deeply honored. Because you walk your walk. You walk your walk. And what we know, like we have talked about, we got 89 days to get this done. You know, the one thing about all of us is we like hard work. Hard work is good work. Hard work is good work. The thing that we like about hard work is we have fun doing hard work. Because we know what we stand for. And that's a big part of this campaign. You know, when you know what you stand for, you know what to fight for.
All right, folks. Look, unions are going to play a crucial role in this campaign. Donald Trump has spent lots of time attacking the UAW, attacking them as much as he can. The UAW by name. Yesterday, of course, UAW President Shawn Fain was a bit profane in response to Donald Trump as well. And of course, don't forget, you're the Teamsters president who spoke to the Republican National Convention. A lot of his members are hardcore conservatives, but who's the one that saved their asses? Democrats, when it came to their pension. But we'll see what happens there. I want to go to my panel right now and bring them in. Dr. Greg Carr, Department of Afro-American Studies at Howard University, joining us from Egypt. Glad to have Doc here. Lauren Victoria Burke, Black Press USA out of Arlington, and also Reverend Mark Thompson of Make It Plain. Glad to have all three of you here. Here's the thing that I find to be most interesting, Lauren. Donald Trump keeps attacking unions, blasted the UAW for not supporting him, called the UAW president out, and I'm like, so you think that's a winning strategy? Okay, let's see if it works.
Well, yeah, it's not going to work. Obviously, the unions are going to go for the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party speaks to their concerns on a regular basis. It is outrageous that the Teamsters have not endorsed the Democratic ticket yet after the Democrats saved their pensions to the tunes of millions and millions of dollars. And then Sean O'Brien, for some reason, thought it was a good idea to speak at the Republican convention, which was perfectly outrageous, actually. He is getting a leadership challenge as a result of that decision. There is sort of a tradition with the Teamsters with regard to waiting until both conventions are over to endorse, but it still makes no sense. And so, of course, it's the unions, SEIU. A lot of these unions are very involved in campaigning and knocking doors and handing out lit and putting out flyers and doing all sorts of things that are advantageous for the Democratic Party, as well as it should be, because the Republicans have no agenda for labor, no agenda for the working class that they have articulated. I mean, if I missed it, somebody pointed out, they're not even really talking about issues. And as you saw today at the press conference that Donald Trump had, there's no language specific to working class people or the middle class that the Republicans talk about on any regular basis.
So the other day, Mark, I saw this conversation Katie Couric had, and she made some comments about how she's just surprised how Democrats are losing the working class. And I had actually sent her, posted a couple of tweets. I'm like, no, Katie, Democrats are not losing the working class. You should be specific. It's the white working class. I lay this out in my book, White Fear. What we have to understand is these white union workers, okay, many of them falling for Donald Trump's nonsense. You saw what happened in Ohio. He beat Hillary Clinton by 450,000 votes. You got these trade workers and others. And the reality is Biden, Harris, and Democrats saved the Teamsters' ass. But the reason you had the Teamsters president there, because he knows, regardless of all of that, a lot of his workers, they're going to vote Republican. This is a perfect example of white union workers voting against their own interest.
And first of all, thanks for having me. Good to see you, Greg. All right. Also, this is the handiwork of Reagan. This began under Reagan, when you had many of the unions and Democratic coalition flip over. You know, some people still get off on some type of strength that they see from white men. White men do, as a matter of fact. So that's what we're up against. We're up against this thing of white men. I have every confidence. Of course, Kamala Harris is going to win African Americans. She's going to win Latinos and Latinas. She probably will win white women because of the reversal of Roe, because of the way they voted since the reversal of Roe, because the white women are aware of the mistake they made in 2016. But it's the white men that are problematic. Biden had begun to move college-educated white men, not non-college-educated white men. That's the demographic that Trump kind of has sewn up. But what is going on now, and I think it's going to be challenging even for organizations like the Teamsters to continue to function in the way they are. Tim Walz, somebody said it this morning. I don't remember who it was, but they said it better than me. So I'm stealing this from somebody. I apologize. When I get your name straight, I'll give you credit. Tim Walz is what J.D. Vance would like to pretend to be. He's a real one. All right? He's a regular schmegular white dude that comes from the working class, that comes from Nebraska. All right? So those guys are looking, so wait a minute now, this regular dude like us is in this, and he has all the enthusiasm. He is Coach Walz. If she can cut in, the rest of the coalition holds, labor, white women, people of color, if it holds, I think if she can get still 1 to 2% of college-educated white men from Trump, she can pull it off. They'll need a whole lot. Trump's ceiling is 47%. But you're right. They voted against their own interests. I know what Bishop Barber has always tried to do is work against that and try to organize people and mobilize people to act more in their own best interests. But that's the challenge. Racism and white supremacy prevails. And as Dr. Wilson told us, until we acknowledge that, we will continue to have the same problems.
Well, Greg, listen, in that nonsensical news conference, Donald Trump just talked about how we're way up when it comes to white men, and he was signaling to them. And the fact of the matter is, these white men are aggrieved. These white men are angry because they have been in control running America, and they don't like the fact that they now are going to have to share this. And so the real question for Harris Walz, are these white women going to do what they did, where they voted 53% for Trump in 2016? It was a little higher in 2020. Will the Dobbs decision cause these white women to realize you are going to be screwed? Keep voting like your husbands.
Well, that is a fundamental question, isn't it, Roland? Your whiteness or your life? We know that whiteness, being an unstable, irrational concept, cannot be trusted upon to act rationally or to be predictable. So, and I agree wholeheartedly with Mark. This is really going to be a game of inches, just like most presidential elections are. And by the way, check your voter registration. Check your voter registration. Check your voter registration, because if it's going to be close enough to steal, we all know what will happen. Michigan, of course, and this is a great example again of what we face. These working class women and men. The UAW, a third of its million members are in Michigan. Picking Tim Walz goes a long way towards sending a signal to some of those folks. And if you can shave off enough of those white working class folk who are more concerned about their pension and about Social Security and about stability for their family after having worked many years in factories and worked many years in jobs that have seen the protections that they have worked so hard to earn attacked, if they can be convinced to vote for their class interests, then you'll see something that will benefit the Harris ticket. Michigan has been very interesting this last couple of days. We saw, of course, with the uncommitted national movement meeting with the Harris Walz ticket, and then continue to protest nevertheless at the rally that followed. And of course, the thing that has gone viral, the vice president kind of giving them the look, and we've all known that look. The pushback for folk who have said, well, you don't want us to be critical on Palestine. You don't want us to be critical on what's going on in Israel. Well, the pushback is we've got to get in office in order to change foreign policy, and we are committed to doing that. Well, finally, we're going to see that same tool used to talk about white identity politics that can be used for progressive causes. White men for Trump and all, Trump, white men for Harris and all these things. They erode that notion that somehow your race must somehow inform your politics in a way that will move against your class interests. So I think that all in all, today's conversation that we saw there with the UAW is a positive thing because it could erode some of that assumption that just because you're white working class, you don't have to vote for white nationalism.
I do want to pick up on that particular point Greg just made there, Mark, because it's got lots of conversation when Vice President Harris, when she clapped back, if you will, on some of the protesters yesterday. I was watching it live, and the moment it happened, when I saw she was giving the speech and she was trying to make a point, I said, oh, they're protesters, the people who are screaming in the audience. And then you heard her respond in terms of, hey, y'all relax, democracy, things along those lines. And so we heard that. Then all of a sudden, we also then began to see where she was like, okay, like, all right. And then next thing you know, she gave that look that Greg referenced. And the moment she did, I said, every black person know that look. We all know that particular look because we've all seen that look before. And it's led to lots of conversation today. A lot of folks have been talking about it. And the reality is, and guys, if y'all have the clip, let me know. If not, I'll pull up on my end. The thing that we got to recognize is that, the thing we got to recognize here, Mark, is that this issue of Gaza Israel and Gaza is a very sensitive issue. Young voters, you've got Arab Americans who've lost family members, who've lost whole families. You've got others who are saying, y'all chill, no protesting. Others are saying, but this is the only leverage that we have. And so this is not an easy position the Vice President Kamala Harris is in. So the question is, how does she thread that needle?
A very good question. First of all, and you'll see it, but what I do want to say, and I'm sending this to your team now, Carol, I just texted you. We kind of have to see the whole clip because we saw her pretty much flip them off, give them the black mother look. But prior to that, she said every voice matters. She allowed them to protest. She acknowledged them. She said, okay, I hear you. This is democracy. Every voice matters. Prior to that, she had met with 2 Palestinian activists in the receiving line. One happened to be Cori Bush's former chief of staff. The other happened to be a physician who also is Rashida Tlaib's sister. And they had a very rational conversation. The vice president said that she would be following up with them, put him in touch with her staff. The protesters we've been able to confirm were students from the University of Michigan. Now, it's a very difficult thing to straddle because so this is what is going on. You have many within the Gaza movement, and I consider myself a part of it, many Palestinian activists who feel like they got a victory in her not picking Shapiro. And there was a lot of activism behind the scenes to prevent her from picking Shapiro. But obviously there's more that needs to be done. They want her to continue to call for a ceasefire. They want her to announce her favorability or her favoritism, her preference, I should say, for an arms embargo. That's very delicate because Biden is still the president. So does she say that now? Does she say that'll be my policy? Meetings, negotiations are being sought. Can't go in a whole lot of detail. I'm somewhat involved in trying to facilitate that. What I'm saying to everybody is we need an 89-day ceasefire between the movement and the campaign because we got 89 days to determine who do we want to sit across the table from to negotiate the future of Gaza and Palestine? Do we want that to be Trump? Do we want that to be Harris? The other reality in this, and folks, and I'm sure people appreciate this, you may not be aware of this, but you'll get it when I say this to you. There are still those who are using her not picking Shapiro as a wedge, as an issue to hold over her head. There are those who would still believe by not picking him, it was an anti-Semitic move, it was an anti-Jewish move. There are those who are trying to, for an older generation, trying to Hymietown her. For the younger generation, there are those who are trying to Cori Bush her. All right? So it's a very delicate balance. I have been informed that the DNC would like to have some of the families of hostages speak at the convention. Palestinians are saying, well, why not have some Palestinians speak as well? So all of these things are being discussed behind the scenes. There is a lot of tension as a result of it. And so it's going to be difficult to try to get this done in the way that we need to, in the time that we need to. Roland, I'm sure you have a follow-up. We may have to clip, but if you can't answer now, I just have a question for you, because I came in at the end. The speech she was giving at UAW, it looked like she was no longer on the prompter. That was her speaking extemporaneously. Am I right about that?
I don't know. I was doing some other work. I didn't actually see the rally, so I'm not sure. But okay. You were talking about the particular clip, and we were live, and so I want to switch to that just so people have the full context of exactly what happened. Here we go.
Take our nation backward. And look, as we move our nation forward, Donald Trump intends to take our nation backward. Just look at his Project 2025 agenda. Project 2025. To weaken America's middle class. Project 2025, if he is elected.
All right, folks. Do this here. So, control room, play it from your end because I'm having an issue with mine.
Because we believe in democracy. Everyone's voice matters, but I am speaking now. I am speaking now. So Project 2025. Look, if he is elected, Donald Trump intends to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations. He intends to cut Social Security and Medicare. He intends to surrender our fight against the climate crisis, and he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking. got yours. And we're not going back. We're not going back. And we're not going back because we know what that would look like.
So Roland, you saw how at first she was understanding and compassionate, and she switched it up. She was understanding.
That was a stare down right there, y'all. That again, you saw how she held that stare, and then when she dropped that head, she's like,
right.
I'm looking at your ass. So, and listen, that's one of those things that listen, you give folks room, you give them respect, but when they kept going, Black Kamala, the sister, became real evident real fast. And, you know, what's interesting is you have some reporters and others who've been critical, but every black person I know, they like, I done seen that look before.
Yeah, well, that's true. And Mark, please, man, finish your point, because you're much more on the inside of this than a lot of us. And I just want to say very quickly that I've had that look in my heart when it comes to a lot of my friends, comrades, colleagues, particularly those who would consider themselves on the left, who, quite frankly, would prefer to, you know, I think the old school Marxists and Leninists might say, heighten the contradictions until they become unavoidable. So a Trump victory might actually work in that idea that it becomes so hard that somehow some revolution will be triggered and people would all of a sudden magically create a class consciousness. And I've had that look in my heart because, you know, for those of us who look at our people and say the people who are most in harm's way, who are not college professors or, you know, academics and quote unquote public intellectuals who play thought exercises with this idea of revolution, for the people who can't afford their medicine, for the people who are looking for jobs, for people who are trying to pay off their student debt, or for people who don't have any health care, it's more important for them to have those immediate solutions. You know, in that moment, I don't know that Vice President Harris did not have another set of messages when she said, if you want Donald Trump to win, just say that. You see, there's an element, and I've been there myself. I understand the arguments in favor of that idea of just pushing it until the wheels fall off and then try to build from the wreckage. But let's be very clear that there's no evidence that I am aware of in modern world history where that has worked. Am I happy with Biden-Harris's policy on Palestine? Hell no. But let me be very clear. If those same protesters had attempted that at the Klan rallies that passed for Republican meetings, there would have been violence. And the question becomes, and I agree with you, Mark, again, just listening to what you're saying here and we'll land this out. The idea is that you want your best opponent across the table. And quite frankly, for ending the war, and I'm in a region right now, if you don't think that every second of the day in Egypt and in all these places in the Middle East, that this isn't the central conversation, you're not paying attention. And I had those conversations for the last week. At the end of the day, right, you've got to understand that you've got to play politics in this moment, and that's a duopoly in the United States as it stands, a two-party system. Which one of them do you want?
Right. And remember, Susan Sarandon made the same point in 2016. Well, maybe if Trump wins, we'll get this liberal revolution. It was like, the hell are you thinking? And I'm sure many people are regretting that right now. Let me go to our next story, folks. A story out of Wisconsin. Black man was killed at a hotel. 4 workers have now been indicted. Hyatt Regency workers involving the death of Devontae Mitchell. He was punched and beaten with a broom during a confrontation. Todd Allen Erickson, Brandon LaDaniel Turner, Herbert T. Williamson, all of Milwaukee, Devin Johnson Carson, South Milwaukee, each face a charge of felony murder. Milwaukee County prosecutors say the 4 men are who they believe played a role in the incident. The 43-year-old died during a deadly June 30th confrontation with security, who held Mitchell down for about 9 minutes. Joining us right now, the family attorney Ben Crump, representing the Mitchell family. Ben, glad to have you on the show. When you look at this here, I remember seeing an interview, Ben, with a brother who worked at the hotel, and he said, well, you know, I wish the man hadn't died. I was in fear that I was going to be fired if I didn't help them. Well, now you're charged with murder. So it's one of those things, the brother was so concerned about losing his job, he might not lose his freedom.
Exactly, Roland. You know, I think there are certain people in the video that were less culpable than others when you look at them punching him and hitting him in the head with a metal baton and holding him in that prone position for 8 to 9 minutes while he's saying, "Let me breathe," is reminiscent of the tragic killing of George Floyd. But the Hyatt and Ambridge Hospitality are responsible because they should have trained their employees to call the police. You don't try to detain anybody. What was his crime? He was asking for money out in front of the parking lot, and for that, you give him the death sentence? I mean, it is a very difficult video when you think all they had to do was let the man leave the premises. But no, they decided that we got to detain you. We're going to make sure that you're held accountable because you're trespassing. And for that they're all looking at jail time. And the Hyatt, if they don't come and remedy this problem, those folks, rightfully so, with righteous indignation, are going to continue to disturb the peace at the Hyatt Hotel because Devontae Mitchell blood is on the hands of the Hyatt Corporation.
Well, I don't understand. Again, watching this video, why in the hell are you kneeling on the guy? And now you got these workers coming up to the person who's recording. They got more indignation because somebody's recording as opposed to these folks who are kneeling and sitting on this man and literally squeezing the breath out of his body.
And started verbally cursing and threatening the people who were videotaping on their cell phones. I mean, a man is saying, "I can't breathe." If we've learned anything from George Floyd, when black men are in that prone position saying, "I can't breathe," why don't you believe them? Why do you continue to torture them to the point of death, where the cause of death is positional asphyxiation because he lacked oxygen to his brain?
It's beyond sad watching this video, and again, for the individuals who are involved, they now are facing murder charges. Again, they now have to deal with. Here are the names right here: Todd Allen Erickson, Brandon LaDaniel Turner, Herbert T. Williamson, Devin W. Johnson Carson. They now are going to have to hire lawyers. They now are facing felony murder charges, and this is all because of their actions. They are not they were not law enforcement. You see them dragging the man out of the hotel. Ben, I've been in a lot of hotels. I've seen lots of disturbances. I've never witnessed this, where a lot of times when somebody's disturbing the peace, they sit here and say, "You know what? Keep yelling, keep acting a fool. We're going to call the cops and they come arrest you." That's how it's handled.
And that's all they had to do, Roland Martin. And the police would have been trained, dealt with the situation. We know that the police oftentimes engage in excessive, unnecessary force. However, you're a private citizen. What thinks you have the right? I mean, you see how they're punching him, Roland? I mean, these guys are going way beyond the pale. I mean, you are a front desk attendant. You are a bailman. Why are you getting involved? You say, "Oh, well, my manager told me I had to grab him." You tell the manager, that ain't my job description. In fact, the Hyatt has fired everybody because they said they trained them to call 911. You don't try to detain a person. And it just, I don't know, Roland Martin, to you and Mark and everybody on the panel, Doc. I mean, how many times black people got to say, "I can't breathe," before America starts to believe us? The fact that here we are tomorrow, the 10-year anniversary of Ferguson, and we're talking about with Governor Walz George Floyd case again about the reaction and the emotions of black people watching us needlessly and senselessly being killed because people don't have the consideration to offer us humanity when we say we can't breathe, when we are in our own homes like Sonia Massey saying that I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. You use unnecessary, unjustifiable, and senseless force to kill us. And right now, we're at the crossroads, and everybody, Devontae Mitchell, blood is on the hands on these ballots. Sonia Massey, blood is on these ballots. Tyree Nichols, blood is on these ballots. We have to vote like our children's lives matter, because in many instances, they do.
Ben, while we have you, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker is now calling for the resignation of the sheriff whose deputy fatally shot Sonia Massey in her home. Pritzker says that Republican Sheriff Jack Campbell should step down because the sheriff has failed. Of course, this follows former Deputy Sean Grayson, who's now facing 3 counts of first-degree murder, aggravated battery with a firearm, and official misconduct for the July 16th shooting. The sheriff called the resignation request, quote, a political maneuvering during a tragic event. Your thoughts?
Well, it's hard to argue against Governor Pritzker when you think about this guy had 6 jobs and with different law enforcement agencies in 4 years. And the fact that it's pretty evident now that this sheriff did no background check or anything is as if he was doing a favor for one of his captains or supervisors who the shooter of Sonia Massey was engaged to his daughter. So when you skirt the rules and you hire substandard, subpar officers who, when you listen to the audio from the Logan County Sheriff's Department, when they said, you've been here 7 months, we don't even know how you still have a job. That's how derelict they felt he was, but yet you bring him in and you cut corners, and then he shoots Sonia Massey in her for no apparent reason. Then I believe the governor is not out of line when he says you have to resign because you failed at your job to hire law enforcement that was appropriate to do the job. And so, Roland, I mean, they talk about affirmative action. The affirmative act here was for the white guy to get a job that clearly he should not have gotten.
Indeed, indeed. Attorney Ben Crump, we appreciate you joining the show. Thank you so very much, my brother.
Thank you so much, Roland. Love you, brother.
All right, folks, going to go to a quick break. We come back. Donald Trump held a news conference today. Sounded like an absolute damn fool. Oh, wait till we play for you how he said, my crowds are bigger than Dr. King. I'll be right back.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it.
This is about covering us.
Invest in black-owned media.
Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks.
We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind $100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible.
Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037- 0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland@RolandSMartin.com.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl, Latasha from the A.
And you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Now, y'all know damn well we ain't broadcasting no Donald Trump speech on the Black Star Network, no news conference. So I called this, y'all. I said yesterday, oh, that orange fool is going to be mad with all this attention that Vice President Kamala Harris is getting, and he is going to do something to try to get back in the news. So what did he do? He called a news conference today at Mar-a-Lago, and all the media people sat there and let his punk ass stand in front of cameras and lie. He called her dumb. She couldn't pass the bar. All he did was trash her left and right. But what really got me, and this is really what ticked him off, he didn't like the fact that she had 15,000 people in Detroit, 11,000 in Wisconsin. So all he did was complain in the news conference about, y'all don't talk about my crowd sizes. Listen to this dumbass.
I had 107,000 people in New Jersey. You didn't report it. I'm so glad you asked. What did she have yesterday? 2,000 people? If I ever had 2,000 people, you'd say my campaign is finished. It's so dishonest, the press. And here's a great example. I had in Michigan recently 25,000 people, and 25,000 people we just couldn't get them in. We had in Harrisburg 25,000 people, and 20,000 people couldn't get in. We had so many. Nobody ever mentions that. When she gets 1,500 people, and I saw it yesterday on ABC, where they said, oh, the crowd was so big. I have 10 times, 20 times, 30 times the crowd size, and no, they never say the crowd was big. That's why I'm always saying turn around the cameras. I'm so glad you asked that. I think it's so terrible when you say, well, she has 1,500 people, 1,000 people, and they talk about, oh, the enthusiasm. Let me tell you, we have the enthusiasm, but on crowd size, in history, for any country, nobody's had crowds like I have, and you know that. And when she gets 1,000 people and everybody starts jumping, you know that if I had 1,000 people would say, that's the end of his campaign. I have hundreds of thousands of people. In South Carolina, I had 88,000 people. In Alabama, I had 68,000 people. Nobody says about crowd size with me. But she has 1,000 people or 1,500 people, and they say, oh, the enthusiasm's back. No. The enthusiasm is with me and the Republican Party. The people that, if you look at January 6th, which a lot of people aren't talking about very much, I think those people were treated very harshly when you compare them to other things that took place in this country where a lot of people were killed. Nobody was killed on January 6th. But I think that the people of January 6th were treated very unfairly. And they were there to complain, not through me. They were there to complain about an election. And, you know, it's very interesting. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken to, and I said peacefully and patriotically, which nobody wants to say, but I said peacefully and patriotically. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken to, and you've seen, Maggie, I was at the mall. I was at the Washington Monument. I was at the whole thing. I had crowds. I don't know who's ever had a bigger crowd than I have, but I had it many times. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken before was that day. And I'll tell you, it's very hard to find a picture of that crowd. You see the picture of a small number of people relatively going to the Capitol, but you never see the picture of the crowd. The biggest crowd I've ever spoken, I've spoken to the biggest crowds. Nobody's spoken to crowds bigger than me. If you look at Martin Luther King, when he did his speech, his great speech, and you look at ours, same real estate, same everything, same number of people, if not, we had more. And they said he had 1 million people, but I had 25,000 people. But when you look at the exact same picture, and everything's the same because it was the fountains, the whole thing, all the way back to from Lincoln to Washington, and you look at it, and you look at the picture of his crowd, my crowd, we actually had more people. They said I had 25,000, and he had 1 million people. And I'm okay with it because I liked Dr. Martin Luther King.
Gone. Gone. You know what? You know what to say. Then you can't say.
First of all,
that's clinical.
If y'all want to know how dumb this man is, it was 250,000 at the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Ain't nobody ever said it was 1 million. That's the crowd. Now, everybody and their mama know that was not his January 6th crowd. If y'all could find a photo, let me know. In fact, Bernice King had to weigh in. She went absolutely not true. I really wish that people would stop using my father to support fallacy. What you're dealing with here, Mark, is an absolute narcissistic, lying, idiotic, attention whore who is so mad that she's getting the attention that you literally come out and whine over it. That was only 2 clips. He kept going, cause y'all, I got big crowds. Ain't nobody got big crowds than me. Now, when you say something that dumb, I immediately thought about this. Come on, go full screen. This crowd right here, your ass ain't never had that crowd. This is the 2009 Obama inauguration. We all know that Donald Trump did not have people going from the Capitol to the Lincoln Memorial. And And here's the thing, Mark, them punk-ass reporters who love to kiss his ass didn't challenge him, didn't say, why you lying? Because they want that freak show back in the Oval Office.
Yeah. Yeah, and to be clear, his base is white men. So he's pushing all those buttons. Martin Luther King, Kamala's dumb, she's not really black. All of that is to inflame and stoke a reaction from them. Let's be clear, that's his base. That's what he's counting on. They have to come out for him to win. If 1 or 2% of them stays home, cooked, all right? And they like that. They like that. You go into the lowest common denominator. That's why he's messed up by Walz. Walz is, as I said, a regular old white dude, just regular, right? Don't even have no money, all right? So that is like short-circuiting white men. Wait a minute, you saying this stuff, but then this dude is over here saying something else, and he's just like us. Matter of fact, he's more like us than you, because you a fake billionaire. Greg, I said earlier, you heard me invoke Dr. Welson's name, and I was invoking in another context. But I mean, Donald Trump is clinical, and I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm glad Kamala's in it. I'm glad Kamala's in it. I'm thankful for the sister. She's gonna be all right. But you know, I think all of us, we're a little uncomfortable. Nobody wants to get taken out like the way Joe Biden was. Lauren, we wouldn't want people to do that to us. And so think about this. No. Took Joe all the way out. Just dogged him. You got to go. Nancy and Obama, yeah, I said Obama, they were involved in it. Take him out. Just because the man, he's elderly, he's slowing down, the stutter's getting a little worse in old age. Look at this dude. The editorial said Biden needs to drop out. Why isn't somebody saying that this man, who is so unhinged and just making up stuff, he clearly is either dealing with senility or another disease that he's been accused of having that y'all can Google. I'm not going to say it out loud because I don't want Roland to get mad at me. It's in the tertiary stage, but he got something going on in his head. Unwell, seriously unwell. Or is it?
But here's the deal, Lauren. The only reason the New York Times said Trump should not run is because they got their asses kicked in a Biden editorial. The reality is, this man is nuts. He's deranged. He's off his rocker. And they sit here and ask him questions. In fact, think about it. That news conference today, they were more calm, more serene than any White House news conference with Karine Jean-Pierre. They want this nutcase and all of this daily crazy because he makes the White House exciting. They were complaining, damn, Biden, he's so boring. That's the real deal here.
Yeah, and Aaron, the Aaron Blake story post today was another example of how completely crazy this is. Aaron Blake was writing about, and Jake Tapper mentioned it inexplicably as well, Tim Walz's reference to the couch and J.D. Vance and how off color that was. Well, isn't that interesting, right? We've been sitting here listening to Donald Trump lie to the entire nation now for 8 years. And it started with the birthplace of the first black president of the United States, all of which was a complete lie. And then the media covers Donald Trump today live. I think everyone covered him live, I think except CNN. I can't remember, but everyone covers this thing live, knowing full well that he's going to lie because he always lies. And Donald Trump is very good at knowing and understanding that he is going to be platformed, he's going to be shown live without much challenge. So he just lies because what he's doing is he's using these media platforms to have these lies be broadcast to millions and millions of people. And as long as they allow him to do that without protecting the truth, which should be the first job of journalism, he's going to do it. So of course he calls a press conference and says a bunch of nonsense, which is what he's been doing now for almost 10 years. And everybody in the media stands there and acts as if this is just the normal standard order of business because they're making off of it. As long as he makes money, they'll continue to do it. But I do think that the vice president is getting very close to challenging that mantle, which is why Donald Trump has been ignored for about 18 days. In fact, probably for the first time in about 7 years, certainly since 2016. So, you know, we haven't had a break from Donald Trump in the media now for a really long time, except for right after July 21, when on the day that Joe Biden dropped out, obviously all the attention swung to the vice president. And the vice president's staff and now Tim Walz have been out really supplying everybody with a lot of content that's very exciting. And as you can see, Donald Trump is melting down because he can see crowds, he can see the numbers. I mean, what kills them, what absolutely kills them is that money piece. And the money piece is now getting into the $300 and $400 million range. And that's what they're here for. They're here for the grift. They're here for the money. And they see the vice president getting that, and it is killing them in the background. And I don't see what stops that train. I mean, the only break that she's had is the protesters at her last rally, you know, and even that really didn't slow it down. But what's strange about the protesters at her last rally is that I'm sure they must realize that former President Trump will do whatever Benjamin Netanyahu wants and send him billions of dollars. So I'm not understanding what their calculus is politically, but I do get the idea of protesting in the here and now because your leverage is before the election. So I understand that piece, but it is interesting when you think about the general politics.
You mentioned Jake Tapper and them complaining about Democrats joking about the couch. So before we came on the air, Danielle Moody dropped this video. I wasn't even aware of these comments by Jake Tapper, and I saw this and I said, she got a point. Let me go ahead and play it. Watch this.
Governor Walz's joke about J.D. Vance getting off of the couch is gross and a horrible smear, and he's revolted, and he's asking questions about what happened to our slogan of when they go low, we go high. I wish that you showed that same fucking energy at Republicans and their racism, their misogyny, their anti-immigrant sentiments. I wish that you showed some type of outrage at the transphobia and the homophobia, but when it comes to that, oh, it's racially tinged, or you can't tell people what's in their heart, or you don't really know what the Republicans mean. So let's platform them on CNN and give them an opportunity to spread their white nationalism and their fucking lies. But this is what you want to show your gross disgust with, is a couch joke? Jake Tapper, I'm disgusted by you. Miss me with the bullshit. Okay? Thanks.
Makes a good point to me, Greg.
Oh, absolutely. And you know, it's funny, in this short attention span world we live in, you know, this is a war of images. It's a pantomime, and we know that. Donald Trump, as you said, Lauren, this has been the longest season out of controlling a news cycle and being the center of spectacle in a very long time. And as far as commercial entertainment, quote unquote, news media is concerned, of course they want a competitive race and they would like to see Donald Trump win. Well, that got short-circuited when Joe Biden crossed over the Democratic Party, who put all the knives in his back by endorsing Kamala Harris in the same breath as leaving the campaign. And then black women, then black men, and then all these other groups following in the wake of these sisters and brothers have taken the attention away from mass commercial media's ability to shape opinion and put the profit in their pockets. And so, I mean, we saw, and of course we just saw, since we've been in conversation this evening, ABC announced that there'll be a debate on the 10th of September between Trump and Harris. Donald Trump is apoplectic. They're propping him up. They're doing what they always do. But in this case, the Democratic Party, for the first time in a very long time, actually is winning the image fight, is winning the politics of theater that steps in instead of the substantive politics in American democracy. And so I'll just say this as it relates to these issues. It doesn't do any good. Should be no arguments trying to fact check Donald Trump. Last I checked, the University of Michigan football stadium holds about 110,000 people. So for that fool to say he had 107,000 somewhere, it just defies logic, and everybody knows that. But that isn't the point. To what you raised, Mark, that isn't the point. It isn't about truth. It's about image war. It's about saying crazy stuff. It's about being the center of attention. And you picked a junior varsity person to be your vice president. You're now in an unhinged rant, trying to regain the attention. But now, because of what the Democrats have done so far,
right,
you have found yourself on the wrong side of being clowned. And Donald Trump is in a clown car at this point, and I don't know how he escapes at this point.
Before I play this video here, which I find to be quite hilarious. Donald Trump in the same news conference. Oh my God, the economy is falling. We're barreling towards depression. Not one reporter in the audience said it was a lie. But here's Neil Cavuto on Fox News saying, really?
You might have heard the former president referring to what's going on right now as a hurdle toward a depression. Well, if that's the case, the market's had a funny way of showing it, at least today, with the S&P 500 putting in its best single-day performance we've seen in a couple of years, the Dow tracking its biggest gain of the year. But again, these are volatile market conditions.
Yeah, the Elon Musk. So, yeah, sure. So Elon called me. As you know, he endorsed me full throat.
Mark, go ahead.
Oh, I was just, I don't know if you all check it. I just checked it all through it's Greg, right? This, and I want to quickly say,
hey, Mark, your audio is breaking up. You're hearing like every fourth word, so let's actually just try to get the audio fixed. Not sure what's going on there, but go ahead and talk now. Let's see if we can hear you.
Is this better? Am I coming through clearer now?
Now go ahead. Now there you go. Now you go. Go ahead.
Okay. It's definitely great. It's definitely about image. It's also about appealing to that base. I just sent you all a text. I'm not going to talk about it on air, but it might be an explanation as to his behavior. And that's been out there for a few years. There are even more recent articles on this subject. But he's desperate. He has no plan. He's really not even having any events. No events. Mm-hmm. Roland, you and I have been talking offline with others about the mainstream media demanding Kamala sit down and do interviews, which I don't know if that's a subject you want to get into, because that's like, okay, but why are you making demands of her and not scrutinizing his campaign more?
Listen. First of all, the reason I'm not getting into that is because that's a right-wing talking point. J.D. Vance has been driving it and then hoping the media picked it up. I saw a piece in the Daily Beast. So they want to make this a thing. I don't give a damn, okay? So I'm not following their lead. I understand politically why she's not doing interviews. And so guess what? You run your campaign. So listen, the New York Times has been whining they never got a sit-down interview with President Joe Biden. They whine about other things. I don't really care what they think. And so what we're dealing with here is we are dealing with, they are desperate and they're angry. But here's the deal. He doesn't need to do any events because his base, they're not going anywhere. And guess what? Republicans are falling in line. So everybody who's watching, understand, the election is not over. Not one vote has been cast yet. But I can guarantee you one thing, MAGA will be showing up. And the only way you can defeat him is if more of us show up to beat him. That's what has to happen. I got to go to a break real quick. We come back, we're going to talk about the case out of Texas where a young man has been fighting hair discrimination in Texas. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered on the Black Star Network. Folks, do me a favor. Support the work that we do. I told y'all we're going to Chicago. It's going to cost us about $25,000. We're bringing a staff of 7. We're going to be there for 5 days, giving you the kind of coverage nobody else in black-owned media is giving you. So Your support is critical, so please join our Bring the Funk fan club. Everybody who gives during the show, I'm giving you a personal shout out. Send your check and money order, P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo, RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We'll be right back.
Next on the Black Table with me, Greg Carr. Democracy in the United States is under siege. On this list of bad actors, it's easy to point out the Donald Trumps, the Marjorie Taylor Greens, or even the United States Supreme Court as the primary villains. But as David Pepper, author, scholar, and former politician himself says, there's another factor that trumps them all and resides much closer to many of our homes. His book is Laboratories of Autocracy, a wake-up call from behind the lines.
So these state houses get hijacked by the far right, then they gerrymander, they suppress the opposition, and that allows them to legislate in a way that doesn't reflect the people of that state.
David Pepper joins us on the next Black Table, here on the Black Star Network.
Hey, what's up, y'all? I'm Devon Frank.
I'm Dr. Robin B., pharmacist and fitness coach, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
A Texas federal judge has dismissed most of the claims filed in a racial hair discrimination lawsuit by a Texas teen who has been battling the school district. Daryl George's battle with Barber Hills High School in Mount Bellevue, a town about 40 minutes outside of Houston, started last summer when he was suspended over his natural locks. They had been going back and forth. The school district claims that their policy does not violate the Crown Act in Texas, and his attorneys and his family disagree. This has been an ongoing battle now for a year. Allie Booker, his attorney, joins us now from Houston. So, Allie, what did this federal judge say? Because there's a law. There's a law in Texas. And how are they just circumventing the Texas law?
Well, what they're trying to say is this isn't about race. So, Mr. Martin, they're trying to argue that the Crown Act isn't a race-based act, which it isn't. However, anyone is protected underneath it, and it is a race classification. So, we're more than likely going to have to appeal that ruling as it relates to the finding on racial discrimination, because we don't agree with that. We are happy that gender is still in, but this is a race claim and it must be recognized as such.
Okay, so you're going to appeal. What is his current status? Is he still suspended? Is he still being separated? What's going on?
Yes. Well, currently, he's getting ready to start school. So he's taking a base. Nothing has occurred yet. But, of course, in due time, we know he's not going to cut his hair. School is going to start. They're going to say that he is violating the dress code, believe that it's going to start over all over again. We do have a meeting where we're going to sit and see if we can come to some sort of agreement to keep Daryl in regular instruction. If not, we're going to have to take that matter to the courts and fast, Mr. Martin, because school starts next week.
So school starts next week, and obviously they're not relenting. What has been the impact on his academics? That was an issue that we asked last year.
The impact on Daryl?
Yes.
Well, I just spoke, and it's funny that you asked that. Daryl just texted me and said, please make sure you move for that injunction. I do not want to have to go through this again. I can't believe in this. Those were his words. So I'm going to have to move forward. I'm going to have to move quickly. Daryl is very happy about the fact that his case is alive. We should understand he's grinning ear to ear on that issue. However, he does understand that there is a fight before him, and he does know what they're going to try to do to him, and it does scare him, Mr. Martin.
Well, this is no shock. This is what a lot of these Texas folks do. They want to ignore that law, and hopefully Congress will get his act together and pass the Federal Crown Act. It got through the House, but Republicans blocked it in the United States Senate in the last session, and so we'll see what happens next. Allie, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
This right here, Greg, is one of those policy matters that, again, changes if you've got a democratically controlled House, democratically controlled Senate, and obviously you control the presidency. The fact of the matter is, Republicans always, they talk about, how they care about black folks, and, you got Byron Donalds. I'm going to deal with his ass next. Oh, we don't see race. People come up to me and they want photos with me, not because I'm black, because I'm Byron. Well, you ain't saying shit about this.
No, and he's not going to. Byron Donalds is a spectacular example of toadyism, a rent-a-Negro phenomenon. But in this specific case, it's very interesting when you look at Judge Brown's opinion, saying that there's no case law to support a First Amendment claim for protection of hair length. This is an opinion. There's a theory in critical race theory called legal indeterminacy, where you can have the same set of facts and come up with a variety of different interpretations. This is a classic example of this. Another judge might say there is a First Amendment claim, regardless of whether there's a body of case law or a 14th Amendment claim. But the judge hearing this case is a clown judge. That would be Judge Jeffrey Brown, a member of the Fellow Society since the late 1990s, a Trump appointee, and a person that Vanita Gupta, on behalf of the Leadership Conference of Civil and Human Rights, wrote a letter to the United States Senate at the time of his attempted confirmation in 2019, saying that he must not be confirmed. This is a clown who refused to say whether Brown versus Board of Education was correctly decided. This is a clown who has come up against LGBTQIA rights, who has come up against women's health care, who said that short of an 1861 moment, I don't know what we can do about cases involving everything from a woman's right to terminate a pregnancy to same-sex marriage. 1861 would, of course, be when the Civil War started. In other words, Jeffrey Brown is a clown. And so his interpretation of whether or not this young man has been discriminated against cannot fall under the rubric of legal decision-making, but rather ideological decision-making. He is an ideologue, and that's why you fight elections to win elections and to appoint judges to the federal bench who are not Jeffrey Brown. So this can't be read as a legal argument. This is an ideological argument, and Jeffrey Brown's an ideologue.
And listen, Trump wins. Lauren, you're going to have a lot more of nutcases like him on the federal bench.
Yeah, I think the case begins and ends with the fact that this is a Trump appointee. There's really nothing more to talk about. I don't know that it would have made any difference what the arguments were legally or anything else. One of the things about the Federalist Society and the MAGA right and a lot of these Trump supporters is they're always trying to deny that there is any sort of issue that has anything to do with racism. They're denying racism, period. They think racism doesn't exist. It's a figment of our imagination, and that 400 years of history is completely irrelevant. So that's basically the fact on that. I think the Crown Act passed the House outside of this Congress, but it would be nice if the Democrats in the Senate, run by Chuck Schumer, would actually make this a priority, such that you tuck some of this language in a bigger bill. And for whatever reason, it's not a priority for the Democrats in the Senate. It should be. And I'm not sure why that's being held up or why that's a problem. But at any rate, anytime Joe Manchin wants something, that sure as hell is a priority that gets tucked into legislation. So it would seem to me that something as straightforward as the Crown Act could happen for the Democrats as well in the Senate. So at any rate, but this particular moment is brought to us by a Trump appointee. What a shock.
Mark?
No surprise here. And his statement about how, and I'm paraphrasing, sometimes bad things happen, but that doesn't make it against the law or make it unconstitutional. That is a hell of a statement to make when we're talking about, here it is, I want to get it exactly right. He wrote, not everything that is undesirable, annoying, or even harmful amounts to a violation of the law, much less a constitutional problem. But we have the Crown Act. And for him to be so dismissive, we're talking about a young man here. We know how fragile our young people are. So to leave him demoralized with no relief for the discrimination he's endured, it's 2024. Why are we tripping off a hair? Why can't people wear their hair the way that they want to wear their hair? That's what self-determination is. So Trump appointee, we know who he is. Again, folks, this is why elections matter. When nobody remembered in 2016 that presidents appoint judges, all right? I hope we get that now. And so this is why everything we do, some people say, well, you know, this doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter if I vote or not. It does. It always does. And this is a perfect example. Imagine if this was one of our children, your own child, who was told he could not wear his hair the way he chooses to wear it. Your own daughter, your own son. This is horrific, and we got to keep this young man prayed up, and we have to, as a community, let him know that we all support him. Otherwise, this could damage him for the rest of his life.
That's right. Indeed, indeed. All right, y'all. So let me deal with this fool, Florida Congressman Byron Donalds. Sunday, he was on ABC This Week, and he was questioned by George Stephanopoulos about Donald Trump's attacks on Vice President Kamala Harris when he spoke to NABJ. I don't use, and let me just be real clear, I don't use words like coon, Uncle Tom, sellout, Oreo. I don't use any of those words. I don't like to use them against black people. I don't allow them on my timeline on social media. But when I sat here and watched this fool, Byron Donalds, embarrass himself, embarrass his family, embarrass his ancestors, and what got me the most is, how your ass gonna do this when your wife white? Your kids ain't no different than the Vice President Kamala Harris. Her mama's Indian, her daddy's Jamaican. Last I checked, he black. Now, let me be real clear. There are some white Jamaicans. I've met them. But her daddy black. And he sat his Bama ass on ABC and said, this trash.
Former President Trump questioning the Vice President's racial identity.
Well, first, George, in Chicago, he was responding to a question from, I believe, Rachel Scott. Like, this is really a phony controversy. I don't really care. Most people don't. But if we're going to be accurate, when Kamala Harris went into the United States Senate, it was AP that said she was the first Indian-American United States Senator. It was actually played up a lot when she came into the Senate. Now she's running nationally. Obviously, the campaign has shifted. They're talking much more about her father's heritage and her black identity. It doesn't really matter. The president mentioned it. What he also talks about far more frequently is the fact that Kamala Harris is the person who created this massive inflation, which is destroying black families, white families, Hispanic families. It's her failure as border czar that has left our southern border wide open, more than 10 million illegal immigrants coming into our country, record fentanyl coming into our country, which has killed more Americans than at any other point in the history of our country with respect specifically to fentanyl, and the fact that she and Joe Biden have unleashed one of the worst foreign policies in the history of our country that has us on the verge of World War III. That is Kamala Harris's record. President Trump talks about that frequently, but yes, he did mention it in Chicago in response to a question from Rachel Scott.
And you just repeated the slur again. If it doesn't matter, why do you all keep questioning her identity? She's always identified as a black woman. She is biracial. She has a Jamaican father and an Indian mother. She's always identified as both. Why are you questioning that?
Well, George, first of all, this is something that's actually a conversation throughout social media right now. There were a lot of people who are trying to figure this out. But again, that's a side issue, not the main issue. The main issue.
Sir, 1 second. You just did it. You just did it again.
Of the United States.
Why do you insist on questioning her racial identity?
You want me to talk?
I want you to answer my question.
George, now that you're done yelling at me, let me answer. He talked about it on the stage yesterday in Atlanta for, what, 2 minutes? He spent more than 35, 40 minutes going after her record, talking about how radical of a senator that she was. She was the most liberal senator in the United States, in the United States Senate. That is a fact. He talked about the job that she did as vice president of the United States, a job, I will add, which has been a failure for the American people. I know you guys like to glom on to this that he talks about in jest or in a serious manner for about a minute or so, but what you do not cover is the litany of failures of Kamala Harris. That's what you're not covering, George.
So questioning somebody's racial identity for a couple minutes is okay?
George, I'm going to tell you again, he brought it up. AP is the one that wrote the headline when she first came in to the United States Senate. Didn't talk about her being black, talked about her being the first Indian American senator. AP brought that up. I mean, George, we could have this conversation for the entire segment, but none of this matters to the American people. What matters to the American people is, are we going to have the same policies of the Biden-Harris administration that has been destructive of the American people, or are we going to have the policies of the Trump administration, which put America first, had low inflation, prosperous Americans, no matter your race, no matter your color, no matter your creed, and a foreign policy that kept America safe? Those are the facts that truly matter, because this issue is going to come and go. The lives of the American people is what's going to remain, and that's what matters more than anything else.
If it doesn't matter, I don't understand why you keep on repeating it, why the president keeps on repeating it, why those introducing the president yesterday
George,
keep on
actually,
repeating
I'm not
it.
the one who keeps repeating it. George, you're the one that's bringing it up now. That's you.
You've done it,
I understand why
sir.
you
You've done it.
up.
You've done it 3 times. Every single answer you gave me. Now let me finish, sir.
George,
every single answer you gave, you repeated the slur.
Asked me, George. That's why I'm pushing back on you now. George, you asked me the question 3 times. I responded, but I'm.
And every single time you repeat the slur. That is exactly my point. You simply can't say that it's wrong.
George, so then what you're saying, and I want to get off this topic because it's not the only thing that's going on. But George, now you're saying that AP is the one that slurred Kamala Harris, because those are the facts. You can go to the internet and look at the clips, George, if you want to, or we can talk about this now. I prefer to talk about the future of our country, because the American people are struggling. The American people do need serious policy decisions to be made, and they need serious leadership on the world stage. Kamala Harris has not proven that she can do that. Donald J. Trump has proven that he can do that.
AP did not say that Kamala Harris is not black. She is biracial. She is Indian. She is black. You continue to repeat the fact that you continue to repeat the slur. I don't understand why you and the president do it, but it's clear you're not going to say that it's wrong. And you've now established that for our audience. Trump also said at the convention that he would pardon January 6 rioters.
Everybody look for themselves. Let's move on.
I've already said that. Go ahead.
On the internet, everybody. Let's move on. There we go.
So, you go on and repeat the slurs again.
Now, see, I didn't want to have to play all of that. But I wanted y'all to see for yourself what happens when you have these asshole MAGA black Republicans. I know black Republicans. I've known black Republicans for decades. And I know real black Republicans who are embarrassed by stepping fetchits like Byron Donalds. They are embarrassed by the minstrel show. They are embarrassed when people like him defend everything Trump does. If the late Chris Metzler was here, he would be blasting a Byron Donalds. When I think about other black Republicans over the decades, they shake their head when they see fools like that. Donalds would do anything to kiss Donald Trump's ass. And yes, Byron Donalds, on ABC this week, you look like Stephen from Django. You sounded like Stephen from Django. All you had to do, a black man married to a white woman with biracial kids, is say, Vice President Kamala Harris is biracial. She's black and she's Indian. All he had to say was, Trump shouldn't have went there. But see, when you got no guts, when you got no morals, no values, no principles, no ethics, when you've got no black consciousness, then you'll sit there and say that crap because maybe, Byron Donalds, what you need is what we saw when y'all were trying to pick a Speaker of the House. Maybe you need them to pat you on the back of your head and say, good job, boy. That's the kind of stuff that I find to be despicable. You don't even have the decency to check that racist white man, because you would do and say anything to be in his good grace. And that, to me, is even more embarrassing. So when you walk your ass around Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, let's see if you have that same energy. Mark Thompson.
Yeah. I know you don't like names. I looked up when you said step and fetch it. I wholeheartedly agree. And I don't mind name calling, but I'm going to refrain out of respect for your show. It's really incredible. This is 2024. Who does not have biracial or multiracial relatives in their family today? Who doesn't? And what is J.V. Vance and his wife? What are they? What's going on there? So for people to keep repeating these slurs, for Byron Donalds to keep, you're right. I mean, he has a white wife. He's, I don't know whether they have children or not, but if they do, they are building a multiracial family. He mentioned something, though, folks. So I want to bring this back home.
He got biracial kids.
That's right. That's what I thought. I wasn't sure. But I want to bring this back home, Lauren and Greg, too. And you all know this. Online, right now, you got black accounts. I put in air quotes because we don't always know who, I don't know why that's doing that. We don't always know who some of those people are. I did my favorite.
Because Mark, that's the new, Mark, that's the new iPhone feature. When you do that, it creates that celebration balloon effect. But go ahead.
But I'm not on my iPhone, so I don't know why it's doing that. But anyway,
I'm just trying to tell you that's what happens.
But listen, I'm gonna restart. But listen, let me just say this: on some of these accounts, social media, you have black folk questioning her identity as well. Okay, raising questions about who her parents were, whether her father is actually black, even though he's from Jamaica. There's even one popular account got millions of views with this dude saying that her father's not a real Jamaican, that he's actually Indian and from India himself. My camera's back up control. He's actually from India himself, and he immigrated to Jamaica. I'm like, where y'all getting this stuff from? So there is this obsession with her, trying to other her. We got to cut that out. We really, really have to do that. Byron Donalds is a clown. We know that. And again, he's following the Trump script. This is the appeal to the lowest common denominator. And, I have to wonder how many of these so-called hillbillies, as J.D. Vance would call them, themselves, like he does, have a woman of color in their lives.
Well, Lauren, here's the whole deal. And when he goes, well, you know,
a lot of
there's a discussion on social media. I'm like, dude, you're a member of Congress. I mean, get a grip. So, I mean, again, all he's doing is just kissing Trump's ass at all turns. He doesn't even have the guts to say, he shouldn't have said it. This is not a conversation. My kids are biracial. Move on.
Right.
Yeah, well, you know, he's not going to say that. He's never going to say that. The story of Byron Donalds and the saddest thing really about Byron Donalds is that he knows exactly what he's doing. It's completely intentional. It's not accidental. It's not because he's stupid. It's not because he doesn't know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. And for whatever reason, he has decided to be the consensual manservant of Donald Trump. He's decided to be the Trump chaperone, the Negro by the door of white supremacy, whatever the heck you want to call it. He's intentionally wanting that role. That is the role that he wants to have. I think he suspects that he might get something out of it, maybe a cabinet position, but he's trying to show more than anything that he is the loyal manservant. That is the role that Byron does. That's what we're watching in contemporary times. You know, we're watching effectively an archetype from the 1800s. And that's sad. It's sad that somebody black in this country thinks they have to stoop that low to anybody, white or black, in this way. But it's particularly humiliating to watch in the context that we live in today, because there really is no reason for it. I mean, there really is no reason for any of that. Byron Donalds has come a long way. He had a criminal record and ends up as a member of Congress. And yet, for some reason, he feels like this is what he has to do to succeed. And even dumber, he thinks that nobody else can figure out what this is. But, you know, I got to say, the fact that he won't tip the bit is really weird to watch, very strange and emasculating and odd. I mean, I just can't understand it. I mean, most people, a lot of these black Republicans are really good at understanding when you get to that point where your personhood and manhood and self-respect is slipping away. So you keep your mouth shut. You may not want to say publicly that you're in disagreement with Donald Trump, but you keep your mouth shut. And for whatever reason, Byron Donalds is intentionally doing this, and it is something to watch. I mean, I just can't believe it. It just makes me think about the old movies before Step and Fetch It, and even those guys probably were aware of their position. But to be doing this in contemporary times is just unbelievably embarrassing.
We sick.
Yeah, we sick indeed. Lauren, Victoria, bro. I'm gonna tell you, you've had some compelling descriptors over the years, but I promise you, consensual manservant has so many different ways. I think that is my favorite way to describe the congressman from Florida. Consensual manservant. I mean, there ain't a number of directions we can take that. I'm just gonna let that. Like, that's a beautiful thing. You know, and I think you're absolutely right, Lauren. Byron Donalds is after certainly one thing, regardless of whatever else he's about. He's about his wife, Erica. Erica Donalds wants to be Secretary of Education, probably, in this country. This is a clown who was on the board of Moms for Liberty, on her local school board in Florida, who hitched her star to the wagon of DeSantis in Florida until she switched over to John Trump. And she is dangerous. She's been involved in everything from Hillsdale College and Moms for Liberty to all kind of right-wing charter school networks in Florida, where she has siphoned off public dollars with the help of her punk-ass husband, who, when he was in the Florida legislature, helped push through legislation that his family, through his wife and the charter schools they run, directly benefited from. I think this is as much about Erica Donalds, the woman of Byron Donalds' dreams, than it is about Byron. Unfortunately, of course, Byron Donalds, who passed himself off as a fake Jamaican for 15 seconds at Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University in Tallahassee, coming down from New York. Unfortunately, Byron Donalds, who said that, the black family was more intact prior to the end of segregation, which of course would have meant, if we had gone back to those days, that he could not marry the woman of his dreams. And by the way, shout out to Tim Scott for marrying the woman of his dreams a couple of days ago. But Byron Donalds is a means to an end. He is a consensual manservant, to quote Lauren Victoria Burke, whether it be to his wife Erica or to Donald Trump.
I just saw this here, and I'm done with Byron Donalds. But my God, Harold Ford Jr., can you please let the Memphis in you come back out? I just saw this, and, bro, what the hell happened to you? Y'all, watch this.
I got white dudes for Harris right here, and I'm not going to put it on for one reason, I don't want to mess up my hair, but two, I'm not for Harris, so I'm going to give it to you. A white dude for Harris. You are white, right? You're white. So
I'll give it to my father-in-law.
Okay. You wear that. You wear that, Harold. I give this as a gift.
Thank you.
And you put it on your beautiful head.
I appreciate that. Red, white.
You won't wear it, so you're not a Harris supporter.
I am.
You're not going to mess up your hair. Look at it.
I'm a huge.
Come on, Harold. Put the hat on.
Joining us now is University President Dr. J.
That was horrible. That was, I mean, he goes on that show and they buffoon him like that.
Yes, all the time, and he sits there. I get a hat to my father-in-law because he's married to a white woman, but you let that racist bastard Jesse Waters well, Harold, you are white, right?
Wow, that's all, y'all.
Hey, Roland. Now, listen, it would take Mark. It would take Mark. You're gonna have to walk Roland through the history of the Ford family in West Tennessee, particularly Memphis, and how this is so on brand for a junior, and so to speak, after his father, who was a congressman for many years, coming out of Memphis, the Ford family passed the baton to him by Mark. What was it? I'm trying to remember. Harold Ford Sr. withdrew from the campaign before any. Well, he withdrew from the campaign too late for anybody else to jump in. So they just basically put up signs in Memphis that said Junior. Harold Ford Jr. had a silver spoon in his mouth for decades, but that's all on brand for Harold Ford Jr. Anybody in Tennessee, that ain't even news in Tennessee when it comes to Junior.
But I ain't got Harold Sr. letting no white man clown him like that, Jeff. Greg, I'm calling you brother. I'm getting my Tennessee confused.
That's all right. Yes, sir.
We all know each other. Asheville, Tennessee.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I don't have Harold Sr. letting himself be clowned like that. That is embarrassing and disgraceful.
Oh, I agree with you. You're right.
Harold on that show no more. He really, really doesn't need to do that. Y'all, young people, parents, show that video. You never want to be in that position. That man said, "Aren't you white?" on television. I mean, that's just nasty. He knew what he was doing. Oh, it's disgraceful. And I'm sure some of his grandparents, I know some of his family rolling over in their grave. That is horrendous. You gonna subject yourself to that kind of thing?
Well, let's understand something very clearly here. It's easier to be the person that goes along with this nonsense than it is to be the person that stands up and says something, right? It's easier to be the Roy Wilkins than it is to be Malcolm X. And everybody knows that. To sit there and get your little check from Fox News and get clowned is easier, and to keep your mouth shut, it's easier than to say something live on the air, which is what he should have done. I'm sure we're going to hear some story later about how he confronted Jesse Waters in the back. Well, why not do it on the air? He clowned you on the air, so you should say it on the air. But, when it comes to this entire thing, I have to wonder to myself, why is Harold Ford on Fox anyway? Why is he on Fox? Forget about today's event. Why is he on Fox News?
Well, you got to remember, that was some allegation. Remember, he was on MSNBC, Morning Joe a lot. Was some allegation with, I guess, with one of the Wall Street banks he works with, and then it took him off the air, and then they didn't renew his deal, and so then he goes to Fox. But it's like, bruh, have some self, again, have some black consciousness. You let no man just sit here, especially when you know that Jesse Waters is a racist asshole.
Right. I mean,
but you gonna sit here as you kiki in. I'll give it to my father-in-law. Man, okay. Anyway, let me just go ahead. Let me thank Greg from Egypt. Let me, cause see, I ain't even. Don't let me have to get some text messages from my dad like, you gonna cuss that much? Yo, between Byron Downs and Harold Ford Jr., I'm about to be cussing dark-skinned and light-skinned dudes out tonight. So, Greg, Lauren, Mark, I'm just letting y'all know. I appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining us on today's panel. Hey, folks, our National Urban League in New Orleans had a fantastic conversation with Master P about African-American entrepreneurs. Here's that conversation. Folks, we're here in Master P. You've been honored by the National Urban League here in your city. How's it feel?
It's amazing feeling. It's definitely an amazing feeling, and to be able to be here in my hometown and being recognized by the Urban League, because I grew up definitely saying, you know what, this is an organization that's in the community, that's making a difference, and I grew up watching Mayor Mark Morrell.
Yep. Longtime mayor here?
Yes.
Daddy was mayor here?
Yes.
All that?
Yes.
Man, one of the things what I really, really love what you're doing, what you've always done, what you're really doing now, trying to get our folks to understand that we don't have to be the show and not the business.
Yes. Yes. Well, you know, I think our people get caught up. I tell them product outweighs talent, and also we don't think like owners. We always think like, I want to be this player on this team. I want to be in this movie. What about creating?
I had a black woman in L.A., Stevie Wonder's radio station.
Yes.
I went on the air. She worked like in sales or whatever. And I go, she said, Mr. Mark, good to meet you. She had a picture on the wall.
Yeah.
She said, that's my first rounder. And I went, I'm sorry. She said, that's my baby. It's my first rounder.
Yeah.
And I said, sister, don't ever do that.
Yeah.
And she went, what do you mean? You should be saying he's going to be the owner of the team.
Yes.
Bro, she started crying.
Yeah.
She said, nobody has ever said that. I said, baby, the owner got more money than the first rounder.
I tell people all the time, right? When you look at the NBA game, who get the trophy first?
But say it again.
Who get the trophy first? The owner. And so we have to deprogram our minds, because even the celebrities, like I do a thing now, Master P Masterclass, where these celebrities get mad when you talk about the truth. They quick to just take 10% of something, which it might be a large amount, but imagine how we're going to bridge the wealth gap with one of us getting 10%.
And the other one get 90.
That's what they get 90. Think about it.
Right.
And so I want to deprogram our minds to saying that it's okay, that's good, but if we use their picture. So think about this, right? Famous Amos. He was forced to sell his company for $1 million.
Yep.
Somebody brought that company from him for $51 million after he sold it.
Right. He didn't sell it for $1, they bought it from somebody else for $51.
Yes, and then that person sold it for $1.6 billion. So we don't understand the importance of ownership. So $1.6 billion, nobody went back and gave that man nothing, because his face, name, and likeness is on that product. They didn't change it. They didn't change the ingredients. But I have one more question for our culture. Why you only brought a little of that product when it was owned by Famous Amos? But how come we spent $1.6 billion supporting this? And you know what? If Famous Amos would have still owned that product, you know what our people would have said? They have sugar in it. Wait, it's a cookie. No, let's be honest. It's a cookie. But you okay with them selling us a cookie that's worth $1.6 billion?
Right.
But we can't do that because we're going to find some kind of problem with it. And so for me, as I grew and got better, I got into the healthier foods products, right? So I got Miller Family Foods now. Yeah, let me show you this. So
see, branding.
Yeah, marketing. You got to know this. Miller Family Foods. How come we can't be the next Kellogg's?
Right.
Think about
so,
it.
Right. So here, as
healthy.
somebody who travels,
Yeah.
so in my Sprinter,
yeah,
I'll have Quaker Oats oatmeal.
Yes.
What you're saying is,
why not have Miller Family Foods oatmeal?
Right.
Think about it. And think about, we're putting money back into the community and the culture. We educating our people. Right. And I want our people to know that we can do this.
I literally was on a call today with a brother, Todd Brown, Urban Edge Networks, and we work with Black Media.
Yeah.
And we've been on this Black-owned media collective.
Yes.
And the crazy thing is, $340 billion spent on advertising, and how the firms freeze out African Americans.
Yes.
And we were sitting trying to explain to folk that, well, when you're sending money, and then no disrespect to BET, but the reality is they white owned.
Yeah.
And what we said is, when you spending advertising money with BET, then they coming to black folks.
Yeah.
But when you spending with us, we're hiring black folks.
Yeah.
We're investing in black organizations.
Yeah.
It's a whole different deal.
Well, I want to tell you one thing, brother, and I know a lot of people don't tell you this, but I'm proud of you. I'm proud of what you have done for the culture and the people, and not being afraid to stand up. The same thing I'm doing.
Right.
So think about this, right? Walmart just sponsored the BET Awards.
Right.
What if they'd have put that money into our community? So you only doing that for the BET Awards or even Black History Month, to show people look like us on commercials. We've seen a lot of that. But I'm suing Walmart because when I put my other cereal out, they hid it in the back of the stores. And so they didn't want me to compete with these major companies. And
General Mills, Kellogg's, all of them.
So think about this, right? I went sit down with their CEO of their company and two brothers and sisters that look like us. They sit me in this room and they told me, Mr. Miller, I love what you're doing. We're going to make all these changes for our culture and our people. We about diversity. Man, when I left out that office, I realized that those people didn't mean nothing. That was just going by what they have to do. This everyday business for them.
Right.
Do you know how many thousands of people had to hit me up now saying they done me the same thing, but they have no verse?
Right.
So that's why my fight is for economic freedom for our people, for the people that don't have no verse.
And this is also, because I try to do this on my show, educating our people.
Yes.
When I go talk about BET, when you talked about owning.
Yes.
When Bob and Sheila Johnson owned BET.
Yes.
It's in Brett Pulley's book, A $1 Billion Bet.
Yeah.
BET was getting $1,500 for the same ad that MTV was getting $8,000.
Yeah.
Now, if Bob Johnson and Sheila had gotten fair market value, they could have sold 1/3 of BET for the same $2.8 billion and still own 2/3 of it.
Guess what though? What you saying, our people don't want to hear that. Our people gonna say, well, why he saying this now to them? Let's be honest, but you're saying let's educate our
every day.
We're not taking shots at them.
No.
We saying, look at what your worth is.
Wait a minute. When the white guys, it's in the book, Mel Karmazin and Summer Redstone went, wait a minute, they getting $1,500, MTV getting $8,000, they went, we gonna get $8,000.
I'm gonna tell y'all what we have to do. We have to educate the ones that want to be educated, because everybody don't want this. Most people just want the little check.
Right.
And so what I was trying to do, even the lady that created Patty Pies, she was a Walmart executive, a black lady.
Right.
But she don't work there no more. So I'm saying you got to know your worth and your value. Yep. Why is you not working there no more when you helped create one of the biggest brands in the world? And then the guy that made it go viral, James, Walmart promised him all these deals, and I'm saying, how come it's 10 years later, we can't sit around and wait for these people? They're not gonna, we need to do for us.
Right.
And my thing is, for me, as a businessman, this fight is not about me. This is about our culture and our people, and I'm going to fight for the ones that have no verse. We got to hold them to their word.
Yeah.
And even the employees that work for them that got great jobs, I'm saying you can lose that job anytime. You got to do what's right. I'm letting God lead me on this journey. This is a real David and God. Because some people say, well, Pete, you going to fight them by yourself? I say, yeah, I'm going to fight them by myself till my people wake up and want to join the movement and fight with me.
Well, it's interesting because I gave the MLK Day speech at Walmart in Bentonville.
Yes.
CEO was there, went out to the whole company.
Yes.
We've been trying. This show will be 6 years old on September 4th. Not one time has Walmart invested and advertised on this show.
Yeah, well, guess
and we do 15.
But guess what? And they don't realize you are the verse of our culture. And that's what they don't understand.
The only black daily news show in America.
And it's real. But guess what, though? We got to keep letting our people know the truth, because the truth hurt.
Yep.
And we're going to give them the truth, the ones that want to, that stand up with us and fight and do what we got to do. Because think about it, we just lost another black woman. You know why we lost this black woman? Because of economic empowerment. Because think about it, if we were
the sister in Springfield who got shot and killed?
Yes.
Massey?
Yes. Sonia Massey, man. Rest in peace, and my prayers go out to her and her family.
Yep.
But I'm saying we got to stop this senseless crime that's happening to us because we have no power, because we have no revenue. And so we have to change that. I told Ben Crump, we have to get out here and educate our people and let them know about real economics.
That's why on this show we do it every day.
Yeah.
And the cats hitting me and they like, man, why you keep harping on that? I said, because if you don't understand, I said, this is the whole deal. When you go to D.C., you got the White House.
Yeah.
There's only one federal agency that shares along with the White House, Treasury.
Yes.
White House power, Treasury's money.
Yes.
Power, money, money, power.
Yeah.
That's America.
Well, you know what? I'm going to tell y'all right now. We educating our culture. We're going to keep doing it. And I tell people all the time, right? If we could invest 20 to life committing crimes, going to prison, how come we can't invest 4 years going to college, educating our people? And I tell people all the time, right? We throw parties. We give money to these people that commit crimes. We call them our homies, and the ones that go to college, we call them squares. We have to change that whole mindset. And I don't care if they don't like it, because I have family members incarcerated and everything, but I would rather give my money to a kid going to college than us keep going back to the penitentiary. And so I want to change that mindset. I want us to grow. And it's not a shot to nobody, because some people might be in there innocent. So I ain't saying the innocent people.
Right.
I'm saying the ones that ain't innocent. Let's be honest. Because you do have some good people that get caught up.
Right. So
I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about the ones that really destroying the community culture. Because they're going to be ones, come on, why me and you saying this? Well, man, they saying P only saying that because he rich. No, I was poor before. I wanted more out of life. So don't say that I'm rich. Because I'm not rich, I'm wealthy. I could lose it any time and get it back. It's just like oatmeal, just add water.
There you go.
Just add water, I can get it back. I know how to make money.
Right.
Roland, I know how to make money. And I know how to do it the right way. So I tell you all the time, when I got that oatmeal, the police pulled me over. What you got? I got oatmeal. Officer, you want some? They let me go. I ain't got to hide. I ain't got to look over my shoulder. And that's what I want to teach my people. Right. That's the way we survive.
Well, what I keep saying is, we got to have black-owned media.
Yes.
That way, we're not asking permission.
Yes.
When the cats call me, they say, man, is it possible? I'm like, yeah. They go, but they start looking around and said, oh, no, I don't have to call anybody.
Yes.
I said, because there are no meetings where I work.
Yes.
I either say yes or no.
Well, you know what? And anybody watching this is why y'all should be supporting this brother. And every chance I get, I'm going to support him, because we stronger together. Think about it. We don't have a verse if we don't have media.
That's it.
Because they can say anything about
media for a reason.
And think about it. They are gonna beat us down. They did the same thing to Jesus Christ. When you're trying to do the right thing, they are gonna be on you. They're gonna hate you. But I feel like whatever they do, in the end, God will turn it into good, because we're doing the right thing.
That's it. Well, brother, this is awesome. I didn't even know.
Yes.
I'm glad I do. And again, I eat oatmeal.
Yes.
I'm one of the brothers who like oatmeal. And so by being able to buy a black product, we have, and every Tuesday, I have a segment on my show called Marketplace, where I specifically featured black-owned businesses. And I hate to say this, but I can count on one hand how many of those black-owned businesses that have sold thousands of dollars of products that come on my show never sent a check back.
Wow.
Not even $50. And I don't charge them for the segment.
You ain't looking for that.
But that's, again, we talk about how we have to change the mindset
so
to
think
support.
about this, right? When we talk about being scary, our people scary because when you look at, even we talk about a company like Walmart, right? We're afraid to even talk about that.
Absolutely.
And so when you look at that company, how many black billionaires have they created? Off a product. Let's be honest. How many? I just want to know.
Come on.
And then we get it. You're going to give us a little space, a couple $1 million in a hair care product. What is that going to do for our
Or fun black events, buy tables, sponsorship.
Yes.
But you're making
But we got to tell them that you are not, because we spend trillions of dollars as black people. We spend at least $1 trillion.
1.6.
That's what I'm saying. So think about this. They know our buying power.
Yep.
So how come you don't help us grow?
Build capacity.
Yes. How come you don't help us grow to create financial freedom?
Yep.
Especially the ones that are creating products and brands, because that's what we are doing.
Yep.
And my thing is to anybody out there that has been mistreated, lost money, that have all these products, that, you know, they tell you we're going to pick your products up, and then they don't take it. So now people, I know so many people that hit me up that got products sitting in their garage that they thought they was going to get this big deal from this company. But you know what? They keep beating us because we're afraid. One thing about Martin Luther King, he fought for our civil rights.
Yeah.
I'm fighting for economic empowerment for our people and our culture because...
For the last 5 years, that's what he was focused on.
Yes.
He was focused on economics.
Yes.
The last sermon he gave, April 3rd, 1968, he says in the sermon, he said, Jesse, what do you call it?
Yeah.
He said, redistribute the pain. He named 5 companies that we should boycott.
Yeah.
He said, we don't want to throw a Molotov cocktail, no fights. He said, we just got to withdraw our money.
Yes.
If they not supporting us, we shouldn't support them.
Wow.
That's his last sermon.
And so let me tell y'all this, right? Now we have phones, we got the internet, we could actually track this stuff. We got to stop being scared and do the right thing. And I'm telling any brothers and sisters out there that really want to make it, right? This might not work for me, Roland.
Right.
I want this for people after me to be able to eat. So this is not even a fight for me. So I don't care what they think or what they think about us. Yeah, man, Master P come from the music industry. You're not going to remember me from the music industry. You're going to remember me from this, for creating products and brands and owning. When you talk about Miller Family Food, because a lot of these companies, that's their last names. We don't even have none of those. Think about it.
Come on.
We think Gucci is just a fly name. That's
a family name.
That's a family name. We're creating family names.
Abercrombie and Fitch.
Yes. And so we're going to change that. We're going to change that. We're going to change that and show our culture and our people that we can change this and grow it. And if it take 100 years from now and we ain't here, it's going to happen because
that video's still going to be around.
Yes, and we sparked this plug.
Yep.
So every engine has a spark plug, and I'm gonna tell you, I don't know how some of those CEOs and those employees of these companies could sleep, because they talk all this diversity and helping us, and then go right back to just getting their check and forget about us, forget about the other people. And so I'm saying, y'all take that check. It's gonna be hard for y'all to sleep at night because y'all messing over good people that could change the community and the culture. That's why we dying in these streets, because a lack of revenue, a lack of education. I tell people all the time, we don't pray for money, we pray for wisdom. The money gonna come. And so,
well, brother, look, you're more than welcome to come on the show anytime. Again, I ain't gotta ask nobody, so we can talk as long as we want to.
Yeah, no, but you know what? This is a blessing that, and people say, P, why you had to do what you had to do? I say, this $1 billion lawsuit had to be done because they don't respect our people. They respect me.
Right.
They just trying to quiet me and P just chilling. No, we ain't quiet enough, because we got thousands of people y'all have messed over. You know how many billionaires we could have created?
Yep.
Think about it. Kellogg's, General Mills, all those companies got the opportunity to put their products in. We got to go link up with somebody to even get distribution.
Yeah.
And so I want to change that mindset and say, this is the 21st century. Let's do right for our people. Like, do right by us if you want some of that $1 trillion.
There you go.
Spending budgets that we have that we're just giving and buying y'all products. No, we're going to change that, because when they look at our trillion, they look at it as a budget.
Yes.
I'm going to get these people money, and we've been building their brands. So think about it.
Every time.
People that look like us, that's who going to Walmart. That's who going to these stores. We are building these brands, and we're afraid to do that for us. And all we got to do is create our own products and brands, but we need distribution from them. It's going to be time for us to start creating some of this stuff.
That's it. Well, look, you keep swinging.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to keep doing this thing. Like I told you before, the value we have, I ain't renting these cameras. I own them.
Yeah.
So we ain't got to ask nobody.
And I got a slingshot. I'm ready for the giant.
Oh, well, I ain't got a problem hitting nobody.
But we're going to do it the right way.
Right,
the
absolutely.
corporate way, because I want them to see that we are smarter, we're wiser now. It ain't just about music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because everybody have a past. But you're going to see that we are grown up and we're going to make a difference. And we're going to let God lead us on the journey. So we're ready for this fight.
Man, you keep doing it. We're going to keep doing it. And again, anytime you need to share it, all you got to do is hit me up.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it, brother.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it.
All right.
What you just heard from Master P, folks, is why we matter, why black-owned media matters, why Roland Martin Unfiltered or the Black Star Network matters. And you hear me talking about this here and what the close the show out. But I'm telling y'all, I wasn't lying there. We have met. Publicis is the agency for Walmart. We have met with them. We've sent proposals. We've done all sort of stuff. Talked to the Walmart people. Zero. Not one dime. Not one penny. And we cover the issues. Well, it ain't just Walmart. It's a whole slew of companies who've been running. PepsiCo embroiled in a lawsuit right now with Urban Edge Network. And a PepsiCo executive referred to HBCU dancers and cheerleaders as hoes, as strippers. Y'all think I'm lying. I ain't lying. I need y'all to understand what they're saying out here. In fact, there was a sister, she actually posted one of the text messages of the PepsiCo executive. See, I now know why PepsiCo canceled the meeting I had with them in January. See, y'all got to realize what's going on out here. And if we don't have our own media covering our stuff, speaking to our issues, who's going to do it? Who's going to do it? I've been warning y'all about this whole deal. Dr. King talked about this in his last speech, April 3rd, 1968. And so this is about us supporting our own and doing what's necessary. So y'all's support has been hugely critical. Our fan base has been amazing. In the last 6 years, we'll be 6 years old September 4th of this year. And y'all been amazing. But your support is needed. Like I said, it's going to cost us about $25,000. Ain't no sponsor. Ain't no sponsor. We go to Chicago for the convention. The internet alone is going to cost us $3,000 for 5 days. Our space, all those different things. Staffing costs, hotels, you name it. But we are committed to being there. And so when you support the Bring the Funk fan club, that's what you're supporting. You're supporting what we do every single day. And that is bringing the news from an unapologetic, unfiltered black perspective. We don't ask anybody for permission to cover the stories that matter. It's a whole bunch of so-called new black media people out there. All they do is do this here. Bump their gums. They ain't never out there covering the stories like we are on the ground. So to help us, folks, send your check and money order. P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C., 20037-0196. Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. PayPal, R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com. Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And so let me shout out Janae, Kalinda Lee, Portia Anderson, Trina Hodges, Jennifer Jones. Let me shout out Alice Jen McKay, Dolores McKeever, Joanne Dargette, Trudella, Jay Afon. Let me shout out Sheena Jacobs, Reginald Cherry, Amanda Caroma, Frank, Deanne, Sharice Blackman, Kevin Thibodeau, Rob Prelo, Jacqueline Martin, Cherry Jackson, Dominique Holmes, Novella Ussery, Andrea Green, Talisha Alexander, Angela Walker, Nisi, Jean, Sharper, Normiki Holmes, Kenneth McRae, Vivian Minter, Clarence Horn, Patricia Jones, Joan Warren, Carla Taylor, Valerie Conaway, Cecilia Wright, Francis Mitchell, Mark Tyler, Deshaun Monroe, Larry Saxton, Priscilla Graham Dorsey, Mom Gracie B. Johnson, Joan Cox, Carisha Freeman, Courtney, Harold, Natone Q. Weber, Brother Robert Carter, Rochelle Gladney, Bridget, Imani Enterprises, Rosalind, Stephanie Suarez Davis, Teresa Campbell, Derek Robinson, Kimberly Smith Bay, Linda Ward Sapp, Corey Harden, James Jarrett, Tanya, Priscilla K. Curry, Tammy Smith, Corey Harden, Darlene Jackson, Kenneth Abram, TBAA LLC, Alicia Green, Tina Royal, Juanita McCargo, Lisa Hall, Joseph Lagarde, Chris McLean, Danielle, Anita Gray, Martha Daniels. These are all the people who have supported us last 2 hours. Thomas, Tawanda Porter, Connie Dangerfield, Jennifer Jones, Lauren, all of you, thank you for your support. We are doing the work, putting in the time, and giving you what nobody in black-owned media is doing, what nobody in mainstream media is doing. Randall, thanks a lot. Every dollar, whether you give $100, $200, $75, $50, $25, $10, $5, $2, $1, all of it matters. Leslie Guy, thanks a lot. So, folks, I appreciate it. I'm going to rest my voice. Good news. I've tested negative for COVID, but I'm still getting my rest, finishing my meds. We doing the work, y'all, and covering what matters to you. Kenneth Darby, Jr., I appreciate it. Calvin Brown, thanks a lot. Folks, I'm going to see y'all tomorrow right here, Roland Martin Unfiltered, on the Black Star Network. Holla!
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, there's a difference between Black Star Network and black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?